Hello and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. My name is Rich and I'm joined by my fellow PC spec gaming console nerd person, Mr. Oasley BT.
Hello.
And I think it was last night or early this morning, we had some leaks and then an eventual reveal of the Xbox Series S, the supposed, I can't remember if this is the Lockhart or the Anaconda. I'm going to say Lockhart. Anaconda sounds bigger and beefier. This is the little brother to the Xbox Series X, and this is the equivalent of the Xbox One S, hence the naming of the Series S. This is the budget, all-digital version of the next generation Xbox coming at the end of this year, and we thought we would take both of these consoles and compare them and give you guys an idea as to what you'll be buying if you're picking up the Series X or the Series S. Now, in terms of what is actually out there right now for specifics, it's a bit threadbare on the Series S side, but we can give you a good idea as to what you'll be picking up when it comes to these consoles. So the first big one is the fact that one of them is digital, one of them's not. The Series X does have a disc drive as normal. You'll be able to buy physical media for that, no problemo. The Series S is a lot smaller, I think 60% smaller. They said it fits inside the Xbox Series X in terms of its footprint, but it doesn't have a disc drive. You're going to be rocking all digital, which isn't anything new necessarily. We had the One S digital edition, which kind of flopped because it was just the same but without a disc drive, and the price hike wasn't, or the price drop wasn't that significant. And the PlayStation 5 is also getting a digital edition. Whether it's going to match the specs, the spec difference compared to the Series X and Series S here, we'll wait and see. Supposedly tomorrow is when we're going to hear about the PlayStation 5.
Thanks to One Game Guildford as well.
Yeah, thanks to Game Guildford for this. It's been used for a while, but I think they've kind of confirmed we're getting a PS5 event tomorrow as of the time of recording. So, the first big difference between the Series X and the Series S is the fact that one has a disc drive, one doesn't. But to actually complement the fact that it's a digital system, by the looks of things, Xbox have already made a bit of a blunder with this, because the Series S is coming with their standard NVMe or PCIe SSD. They can't seem to decide which one it actually is. But the Xbox Series S comes with a 512 gigabyte SSD, whereas the Series X comes with a 1 terabyte one. Now you might think, since the Series X is inevitably going to cost a lot more, it makes sense to have a bigger drive. But since one of them's digital, why not give that one the bigger drive? Rather than giving it the smaller one? I get making the costs less, but it kind of defeats the purpose, I guess, of having a digital system if your storage is matching the baseline of the last generation of consoles. 500 gig was the base edition for the PS5 and the Xbox, as far as I'm aware. My PS4 is a 500 gig model. I can store like 2 games on it, and it sucks, quite frankly.
I was going to say, how much space does Modern Warfare take up?
I don't know what it is on consoles. I think it might be over 200 gig. On my PC, it's 209 gig for the entire game, which is ridiculous. And that's on a 500 gig SSD actually. But that's an SSD without any OS on it. That's just games.
Yeah, so you could pretty much fit that 2.5 times just on the Xbox Series S.
But it depends. If the 512 gig is its base storage, then it's OS. And everything will be on there as well, so you're probably not going to get 512 to play with. You'll get maybe 480, 470, maybe even less. So the idea that they're putting a 500 gig SSD into the digital version and putting a bigger SSD into the disc version doesn't make much sense, in my opinion. But they are doing expandable storage, either by a standard hard drive via USB, which is fine, but you do miss out on the SSD power that they've been touting ever since we first started the conversation about next gen, either late last year or early this year. Or you can get a proprietary NVMe/PCIe, whichever SSD card you can buy from Microsoft that are proprietary. So goodness knows what the price hike is going to be on that one. But as for the rest of that, that's for the actual baseline of the spec for the Series S, that's kind of all we know. That's all they've really said. But we have managed to dig up some specs from the interwebs, whether it's true or not, please take it with a grain of salt. But we've got some comparisons to the actual Xbox Series X. I'm sure Ozzy will put this up on screen now. And you can see that the GPU is about a third of the power in the Series S compared to the Series X. It's got less RAM. It's got the same processor, admittedly, but the fact the GPU is such a drop down in terms of power it has led to an interesting conversation. And part of this reads the fact that the Xbox Series X can run Xbox Series X exclusives. Maybe the whole blurring of lines between the two generations isn't necessarily going to be as blurred if you're picking up a Series S. You might still be out of luck when it comes to the more demanding games that perhaps only the Series X can run, which again kind of defeats the purpose of Microsoft really trying to blur the lines between generations.
And the only thing that we've really got with the information that we got is 4 teraflops and an Navi 2.0. Now, the equivalent that I've tried to look at is an AMD Radeon Pro 5300. Now, that's RDNA 1, but I presume their custom one will be, a tiny bit more powerful.
It does say RDNA 2 for the GPU, so the architecture's different. And
the float teraflops, if that's really going to be like the selling point, is 4.2 on that Radeon Pro, so it could be around that sort of like specification.
I know that we're starting to lean into the side of like, what does this mean for my games thing? A lot of people probably watching this thinking, what are you guys on about? Like, at the end of the day, we're kind of lost as well. We've got these specifications, but until we see games running on it and get actual benchmarks and things from the games that we're expected to play in November, so I think it's November 10th, I think is the rumored release date for these systems.
I think so, yeah.
We're not entirely sure yet. We have these, like I said, we've got teraflops, we've got RAM counts, we've got all this sort of thing, but that doesn't tell us a huge amount. We do have some performance targets here. The Xbox Series X has been touted as a 4K 60 machine, or 8K, which is kind of pointless, I guess. And apparently the Series S is rocking 1440p at 120 FPS, so at up to 120 FPS, which for a $299 machine or £249, that seems like a big stretch for 1440p. So I'm not sure as to like whether that's a genuine like across the board benchmark or a best case scenario thing, because they could be saying you can hit 1440p 120 provided you're playing Nidhogg or something that's like a pixel game, because you could easily get that to 120 FPS at 1440, but if you're playing something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Black Ops Cold War, 1440p at 120 might be pushing it a bit too much for the system of that kind of spec.
And I don't even mention like whether it's going to be ultra graphics or low graphics. It just says 120 FPS at 1440p.
Yeah, it's all very up in the air. So like basically what we've said so far is like, here's the storage, here's the lack of disk drive, here's the RAM. That's basically all we can tell you in terms of what is different. Until we get genuine benchmarks, we get, say, Digital Foundry get their hands on these systems early like they did for the Series X, not the Series X, the Xbox One X, god, that naming is annoying, and they show you these games next to each other. Only then can you really get the best idea as to what is going to be better for you to buy. And like I said, these specs we've managed to find for the Series S, they need to be taken with a grain of salt, because they still haven't been confirmed. What the actual revealed teaser gives you is so vague, and half of the specs they give you at the end of the trailer, only probably 2 of them are really anything proper to go by as to what you're going to get from these systems. So price point wise, they look to be very different. The Series S is confirmed at $299 or £249. The Series X, we still don't know. Oz, if you had to give a price to the Series X, what do you think you'd go for?
I think it was rumored at like $500 or $499, but
yeah,
if it's going to be like, it's saying 4 teraflops for the Series S and then 12 teraflops for the Series X. Now, surely, it would be a huge step up, really, in terms of like hardware stuff. But the price point would only be $200 more. I mean, that's only the rumored stuff. Like we could expect it to be like, we could presume it to be like more than that or something.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I'm thinking it's gonna be either $499 or more likely $599, because $250 sounds really good. £250 sounds very, very good, but you got to remember that you could buy PS4s for £250 quite easily. So you're getting a base spec PS4, a base spec next gen system. As much as we've seen from the Nvidia 30 series that the prices have plummeted in terms of producing cards or graphics processors at that kind of power, we know that it's cheaper. but it still just kind of seems a bit too good to be true. And I'd like to see, I think before anyone takes any true decision as to which one to buy, I mean, I know that there are people who maybe can't afford a Series X. Even just the hypothetical price of a Series X, I've looked at and gone, nope, that's way too much for me. That's fair enough. It's going to be better when we actually see games running on the Series X and or S. The fact that apparently everything we've seen so far for the Series X has been running on PC, bit of an unfortunate leap for Microsoft on that front. It's not looking good so far. The specs do seem good, and I've seen Twitter exploding with people being excited for the Series S at that kind of price point, because I've got to admit, as much as it's not something I will buy, I have no reason to buy an Xbox because I've got a PC and I can play all Xbox games on that. 250 quid is a damn good deal for the spec you're apparently getting, and you get access to Game Pass, which is phenomenal. I know it sounds like we're just bashing on Xbox a lot here. There is a lot to like about the Series S, but we still don't know whether this is going to be worth the difference in price, or whether you're going to get duped for spending $250 when you could have paid another $150, $200 more to get the X over the S. So
I think it's a bit worrying as well with this leaked thing that they've got as well, because they've got on the backwards compatibility, they've got plays all Xbox One games, supports Xbox 360 and also original Xbox games, and that's both for Series X and Series S. However, for the Series S, it says next gen support, and for the Series X, it says Xbox Series X exclusives. Now, does that mean we'll be able to play Series X games on the Series S, or will it be supported Series X games, which will like eventually be ported onto the Series S as like a downgrade or something like in the future?
Perhaps the Series S is actually already a half-step system. It's 8.5, like generation 8.5 rather than generation 9, like the Series X is actually going to be, because the Xbox, with their branding and their marketing, they've really just gone, we are just an overall brand now. We're not saying this is the next generation. It's just, here's the new systems. They're kind of, like I said, they're blurring the lines. So whether the Series S generally does sit along the Xbox Series X, or whether it sits in between them as a proper stopgap, we'll have to wait and see. Which, as much as it makes the entry level cheaper, if it's denying you access to the games that you're hoping to play with the Series S, that will be a huge blunder on Xbox's part. But compared to the build up to the Xbox One back in 2012, 2013, Xbox are playing this a damn sight better. But admittedly, they don't have Don Matrick about screwing things up and saying things he probably shouldn't be saying. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. Apparently, like I said, the PlayStation 5 full reveal, apparently pre-orders open tomorrow, so surely we'll be knowing about how much the thing will be costing tomorrow. Might have to box up my PS4 tomorrow to take that to game and be like, hi, can I part exchange this for a PS5, please? We'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be an interesting few weeks to see what the Xbox Series X price is, what the PS5 price is, and hopefully find out where the Series S actually sits in this grand scheme of playing chicken with each other. And as the consumer, it's getting kind of annoying. And also, full specs of the Series S. Can we please have Microsoft? Phil Spencer, please. I'll get Ben Roy on you if you don't give us the specs. But what do you think? Where are you sitting on this next gen thing? Are you still kind of a bit confused with everything? Kind of, we're a bit lost as to where we stand on it. Even not just me and Oasley, people like Scott and Josh and everyone, they're all a bit sort of bewildered as to where we go from here. Hence why we're trying to make a bit of sense out of it and making these videos. Hopefully we've given you at least a rough idea as to what's going on. We've given you as much as we can give you in terms of what we really know between the Series S and the Series X. But I hope we've helped. Where are you going to go? Are you going to go with the PS5? Are you going to go with the PS5 digital? Are you going to go for a Series S or a Series X? Are you going to move to PC? I've seen a lot of people do that, actually. Or are you going to just think, no, I'm going to stick on PS4 on my Xbox One? Where do you sit on all of this? Let us know in the comment section down below. I hope we've not been too rambly. I hope we've given you something to play with here. But until we see you again, I have been Rich. You can follow me on Twitter at PickupChangeToe, and I've been joined by Oasley.
I've been Oasley BT.
And you can see him every Tuesday on Choose Your Own Adventure, which is actually today, isn't it?
Yes, it's today at 3 p.m. BST. It's going to be a good one. It's about video game sequels that were saved by dying franchises. Like, yeah, I won't spoil it actually, but it's a good one.
Well, we'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.